Year 12, mid-course exam, paper 2, question 4, the diagram of the human heart. On the diagram, label the aorta. So this curving structure here, this is the aorta with the carotid arteries going up to the head like this. It's emerging from this side of the heart, which is the left side. So we would need to label that aorta like this in order to gain that mark. The second part says on the diagram, label the right atrium. So the atrium is the receiving chamber, so that's this chamber here like so, and our arrow should indicate to there, so we'd need to label that right atrium. And that's one more mark for that. So naming and labeling, pretty straightforward. Now we go into an explanatory question. So that's describe and explain, or why. We need to add the why component. Explain how valves control the flow of blood through the heart. So what do they do then? Well, they create a unidirectional flow. It goes in one direction. Valves prevent backflow, so it prevents a breaking of this unidirectional flow. And then we need to get into the why component of this, the deeper explanatory thing, and that would be because of the pressure on the cusps can bring about the closure of the valve, and of course that links to the previous point, which is the prevention of backflow. So one for this, and these combined give you the second mark for that 2 marker there. And then we get to the final component with 2 marks available, outline. So again, we're giving a brief overview of the causes and consequences of blood clot formation in coronary arteries. So the coronary arteries are the arteries which spread across the heart, oxygenating heart muscle. So we're being asked to say what would cause a clot in one of those, and what would be the consequence of it. So we need to get our cause in first, and we need to get our consequence in second. In fact, the causes of blood clotting, it depends on what level we want to describe this. The clotting mechanism can be caused within the heart due to turbulence in the blood flow caused by narrowing of the blood vessels. So when the blood is forced to flow past an obstruction in the wall where there's been a narrowing, the blood begins to become turbulent, and that can actually form a clot. You might go to a more distant explanation and try and link the formation of a clot to something like perhaps to a dietary, to diet, although that link is kind of tenuous. There's also a deeper link, which would be to talk about the ratio of LDL to HDL, high density lipoproteins and low density lipoproteins. Where this ratio is high, that can stimulate a clot. There are actually many more factors that can cause this, but having got at least one cause in, what we now need to turn our attention to is the consequence. So the consequence of a clot causes what is called an infarction. So a cardiac infarction. Or one could describe that instead by saying that the heart lacks blood, the heart muscle lacks blood rather, and the cell, let me put heart cells actually die, are dead. Okay, so the myocardiocytes actually die. So some kind of combination of that to indicate the consequence of the clot causing damage to the heart due to the lack of oxygen, which is actually called a myocardial infarction. But that's its name. It's not really saying what the consequence is. So the heart cells will actually die. 6 marks in this question. Now on to the essays.